Okay, so good evening, everybody. We are live now from the Torch Center on Mussar Mondays, and the topic tonight is Kavod, honor. And you'll see that honor is not what you think it is. Just give me a few minutes. But before we talk about honor, I still have a debt from last week. And the debt from last week is where our video got cut off before the end of the class, and our friends on Facebook weren't able to really hear the end of the class. So I just want to review. Also, we did this part very quickly. So I want to review the last piece of information that we shared on humility. And we brought a quote from the Orchot Tzadikim, who was one of the great Mussar sages, who said that there are 6 ways to recognize one who is truly humble. Way number 1. And right after this, by the way, we're going to continue with the trait of honor, which is the trait for this week. If a person is humiliated by his fellow through word or deed, and he has the opportunity to revenge himself upon his adversary, but he controls himself and forgives him for the sake of Hashem, this is a sign of true humility. Okay. Of course, there are times that that is forbidden to forgive such humiliation, and that is when it's the honor of the Torah that was impugned. Number 2 is a person who suffers a great loss of a child, God forbid, or a relative, and nevertheless they accept God's judgment with love, as did our great Kohen, our high priest, Aaron, who 2 of his children were taken away from him, and he accepted it with love. It was just a sign of tremendous humility. The third is if he hears people praising his wisdom and good deeds, and he does not rejoice over it, but rather is convinced that his deeds fall far short of what they should be. This is true humility. That means it could be that I may be better than all the other guys on the team, but I may have been more talented to begin with, but I didn't try, I didn't work hard to get there, right? So I really could have been so much better, even though I'm the best on the team. Okay, well, I'm gifted, right? Someone who's smarter than other people, well, did you use your mind more than other people? Perhaps not. Maybe you just relied on the brains that God gave you, and you never really excelled beyond that. The fourth is if Hashem grants you wealth or wisdom or good children, the response is to become even more convinced that you're undeserving of the good that you have received, and you act with humility. This is the path taken by our father Abraham, right? When Hashem accorded him the honor of wishing to advise him in advance of the destruction of Sodom, he reacted by stating, "I am but dust and ashes." Right? I'm nothing. I don't. And we discussed this at the beginning of the class last week. If number 5 is if he harms another through speech or action, and does not wait to be reproached, but instead comes on his own volition to redress the wrong and ask for forgiveness. Okay. So if you did something wrong to someone else, and you know that, don't wait till they come to you. Don't go. You know what? Be humble. I know I did something wrong. You go over to them and apologize. And that is a great, great quality. And the 6th quality of humility. And the 6th way to determine someone's humility is the man who is truly humble does not pursue luxuries, nor does he seek beautiful clothing and adornments. His manner is gentle, and he speaks softly. We saw, and this is all quoted from the Orchot Tzadikim, and I found it in the fantastic series of books called the Daily Dose of Torah. The Daily Dose of Torah is a cycle. We have over here 2 series. They have 2-year cycles. They have 3 actually. We only have 2 here, and it goes by every single day. You have a little bit of Chumash on the Parsha. You have a little bit of Mishnah, a little bit of Talmud, a little bit of Mussar, a little bit of Halacha, and a little bit of Siddur, of prayer. And it's beautiful. It's 18 minutes and you're done. So if you can either come to the Torch Center and see our beautiful library. By the way, it's starting to get full, if you notice, right? This is the Levitt family library. And we started getting, today we got 2 boxes of books. As you'll see, they're starting to show up on the shelves. and hopefully hopefully sometime this week we should be getting the rest of the books, and that will hopefully be packing in the rest of the bookshelves. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that 5-minute detour to summarize last week's learning of the trait of anava, of humility. Today we're going to discuss the trait of honor. Now, as you know, you should have in front of you now a Mida worksheet. Those of you online who do not have a Mida worksheet, you're welcome to email me or text me your email address, and I will happily email it to you in a PDF so you can print it out at home. But what this is a private sheet. It's yours to keep. You don't have to give it in. It's not homework. It's just a tool to help every individual identify what is this trait, and then introspect. Introspect within yourself, where do I stand with this trait? Then you set yourself an avodah, what do you want to accomplish in working this trait? And then you accept something upon yourself, either daily or weekly, to help enhance your daily life with this trait. Okay, so now we're going to begin again, and then you can journal throughout the week. We have in the back here, you can journal your progress, your activities with this trait. Okay, so I want to first go around the room like we've done in previous weeks and see what you think this trait of honor means. What is the trait of honor? When you think of the trait of honor, what does it mean to you? Please.
To be trustworthy and truthful.
Trustworthy and truthful. I like that.
Doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing.
Respect.
Respect.
Yeah, that's also in my head. Respectful of others.
Okay.
Yeah, integrity and respect for others, and also probably following the rules of God too.
Okay.
First thing that comes to my mind, of course, is honor your father and mother.
Honor your father and mother. Okay, very
The 10th commandment.
excellent.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Ditto.
Yeah.
Okay, no. I would say similar. I would say keeping your word is your bond.
Keeping your word. Okay. Like it.
Awe.
Okay.
Respect.
Respect.
Recognize and appreciate someone for who they are without judgment.
Okay, very good. I like that. Recognizing and respecting someone for who they are without judgment. Love it.
Knowing your place and the place of others.
Knowing your place, knowing the place of others. Rabbitson?
I'm just going to repeat what others have said.
Okay.
You don't cheat.
You don't cheat.
Nothing new. Just
Okay.
what everybody else has said.
What everyone said. Okay. Well, Jay is a man of peace. He just wants, whatever. Okay. I love it. Okay, so let's quickly, by the way, what everyone said is true. But when we want to work on a trait, especially together as a team, we're going to be learning now for the next hour about a trait. We have to really define this trait before we move on. You know, it's like, imagine if a teacher starts talking about, I don't know, think of anything, any idea, any concept of, I don't know, give me a concept.
Existentialism.
Existentialism, there we go, right? And imagine I spend 2 hours or 3 hours in class talking about existentialism, right? Right? And you spend a whole class, and I don't even know what that means, right? So let's first define it so that when we talk about kavod, we all understand that we have the same definition, okay? Kavod, as we know, means honor, right? But that's what we do for other people, right? When we honor someone else, we give them kavod. But what's about for ourselves? What does kavod mean for me? What does kavod mean for me? Honor myself? That can't be what it means. Kavod means dignity. Kavod means having a self-dignity, a self-worth. You know, I think the biggest problem in our society is that people don't value themselves. People don't understand how much they're worth. They don't understand how much they're capable of. They don't understand how great they can be. They don't understand how holy, what they can accomplish. People just don't understand it. So they go about life, living their lives thinking, I'm really small, I'm really nothing, I'm really incapable, I'm really this, and all knocking themselves, not realizing how great they really are. The problem I find today is that most people don't have a self-dignity, a self-worth. And we were talking about this in other classes, about how people don't... Can you come to lower it, please? Thanks. I'll wait for you. Till then, we'll talk about existentialism. Ism. How did you say it?
Existentialism.
Existentialism. There's no nism in there? Okay.
No ism.
Existentialism.
Protein bar?
Protein. Right. So we have like this. So we have everything in this world has a value. Okay? I'm going to show you something now that has a value. You see what I have in my hand right now? It's a staple. Okay? Even a staple has a value. Do you know what the value of the staple is? What's the value of the staple?
Being able to hold papers.
Whatever you're ready to pay for it. That's the value. All right? What's the value of this pen? This is a signature torch pen. Right? Right? What is the value?
What you want to write.
Whatever what you can write for, what really in the market is whatever people are ready to pay for it.
It's a torch pen. It's invaluable.
There you go. That's right. Right? But everything in the world, we determine its value by what you're ready to pay for it. That bottle, that water bottle, looks great. It's only worth what you're ready to pay for it. Right? So that's the way we would determine everything in life has a value. Everything in this world has a value. And it's determined by the price you're ready to pay for it. Everything has a value. Your profession has a value. Your wisdom has a value. Your experience has a value. Right? All of these things has value. And we see that people want to go to school to become, artists or they want to become accountants or they want to become doctors or lawyers, whatever they want to become. They're ready to pay a lot of money to learn that information. Because it has a value to them, and the money they're ready to pay for it is the money it's worth. Right? If it costs nothing, it's not going to make it more valuable. If it costs too much, right, it may not either make it too valuable, because if that's what I'm ready to pay for it, that's what it is. Right? We're good? Everyone understand? Yes? No? Yes. Okay, we're good? Yes. Value is determined by... What's the value of human beings? What's the value? What's that?
Prices.
What price? So I'm going to pay for you? Right? No, but that's not really the way it works. It's like, how do you determine how valuable a president is? How do you determine how valuable a servant is? Or not a servant, but your local cashier at the in your grocery store. In your supermarket, right? How do you determine the value of a person?
If they deliver what they're expected to.
So that's the result of their action has a value. But they themselves, what's their value?
Their character.
How do you determine it?
What their actions are?
So our sages tell us an amazing thing. You determine a person's value by their dignity. By the way in which you carry themselves. You see someone who's honorable, you see the way they carry themselves. You see someone who's perhaps worthless, you see they don't care, they don't have any value to themselves, they don't carry themselves with a dignity. So the way you determine the value of a human being is by their dignity. And we'll see this very soon, because there are a lot of things that may shift for us tonight in the way we see ourselves and in the way we see other people. Okay? It's critical that we have a very good and solid grasp of honor. Honor means self-worth, dignity. Okay? So, we live in a world of values. Value is determined by the price and amount of money we are willing to pay. Everything has value. Mankind has value too. How do we establish man's value? By the honor or respect we show towards a person. So, for example, if you see a congressman, right? Wow, honorable. You call them right. You see a judge. You say the honorable. You see a senator, right? Hopefully, you'll use terms of respect and honor, right? That's the way we value people. By the way we treat them, by the dignity that we show them. There are no set of rules to this, obviously. Okay, there are no set of rules, but everyone on planet Earth needs respect. There's no human being who is worthless, and there's no human being who doesn't crave respect. Now, we're not talking about honor in the sense of like, hey, I want everyone to bow down to me. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about everybody wants to be respected, right? They want to be respected in a dignified way. Okay, what's very interesting, just as a side note, what do children want? Do you know what children want?
Attention?
Of course they want attention, but attention is not really what they want.
Acceptance.
They want to be unique.
Oh.
They want to be, every single child has the same craving to be unique. Right? They don't want to just be like the other. They want to be recognized by something that's different, something that's special, something that's not the ordinary. They want to be recognized as something that's unique. Every human being has a desire to be seen as something unique, someone who's unique. Oh, they have a great mind. They think a little bit. Sometimes we need to, people feel the need to be crooked in order for people to recognize their opinion. Oh, he's that guy. And they enjoy being unique, even if they may be wrong. But that's part of their joy of being different. Every person needs respect. A person who has no honor, a person who, is a dead person. Right? It's over. There's no more honor. There's nothing there. He can't do anything. Okay? And they can't move. They can't cover themselves. They can't hide. They can't do anything. Right? A person who's alive, by definition, has a certain sense of honor and dignity. Now, the way we treat the deceased with tremendous honor and tremendous dignity. And that's one of the things in Judaism that's really, really unique, is that we take every measure humanly possible, that after someone passes away, they are being handled with utmost dignity. And you can ask anyone who's been part of the burial society, the Chevra Kadisha, it's just incredible the respect and the honor and the dignity with which you treat the deceased. Right? It's unbelievable. They can't stand there and cover themselves. We do that for them. We dress them. And then after we ask them forgiveness if we did anything which wasn't to the utmost respect of their dignity. Okay? But that's it they have. Okay. You know that the white collar criminals is the highest suicide rate. Do you know why? Because till now, the guy lived in Bel Air. Everybody came to his house to ask him for advice. They wanted to know everything. Oh, we want to be your friend. And then, God forbid, they go into prison, and they mean nothing to nobody. Nobody cares about them. Nobody visits them. Suddenly, their opinion doesn't matter. Everyone can write disparaging things. Yeah, I always knew he's a crook. And these are the same people who praised him. And these are the same people who always adored him and gave him honor when he had the money. But now that he's in prison, a worthless piece of garbage, right? That's why people have a very difficult time. And that's why their suicide rate is so high. They also have dignity. They also have honor. They also need honor. And when that's gone, they have no reason to live anymore. Which is why in Judaism, remember when we spoke about the trait of kindness? When we spoke about the trait of kindness, you'll remember that we said something very interesting. What is the obligation of kindness? The obligation of kindness is to do for the person what they're lacking. What does that mean? If this person used to be an executive, a CEO, and he used to be able to drive to work with his Bentley, and he used to have a motorcade, and all these assistants and all, and now he lost everything. He's got nothing left. So what do we have to give him charity? We give him enough for the bus, right? We give him enough money. Here's a metro. Take a metro card. You can go for the month free, right? His dignity is shot so far. It's not the money per se that hurts him. It's the dignity that hurts him. Our sages tell us, the Torah tells us, you know what you have to restore for him? Not the money, the dignity. The dignity. He shouldn't be embarrassed to get off a metro bus now, right? Doesn't mean you have to go buy him a car now. Doesn't mean you have to buy him a Bentley. It doesn't mean, right? But again, that's what we have to realize in another person's lacking, right? It's the dignity. You see so much in Judaism is about dignity. I'll give you an example. I'm sure you'll all identify with this. Friday night. By the way, anybody know the holiest day of the year? The holiest day of the year. What was that? Yom Kippur. Anybody else? Shabbat. Shabbat is the holiest day of the year. And it happens 52 times a year. It's the holiest day of the year. Okay, we come home from synagogue, and what do we have on the table? We have our challah, right? 2 challahs. And we have our wine and our kiddush cup, and hopefully a beautifully set table. And if you haven't experienced this, you're welcome to come to our house for Shabbat. Just let me know when, right? Anytime. We're looking forward to having you and your family, including our friends on Facebook. You're welcome to join us. Just let me know. And so you have the challah, and if you'll notice, the challah is. Do you see the challah? No, it's covered. Why is it covered? Why is it covered?
Because you're going to make kiddush first.
So
the challah shouldn't be embarrassed.
Now let me ask you a question. All right? Last I checked, my challah doesn't have feelings. I don't know about yours, but my challah doesn't have feelings. So what do we care that the challah is going to be embarrassed? And you can ask everybody; they'll say exactly like you said, right?
Distracted, maybe?
No, we say you look at the words of the sages. The sages will say the same thing. You cover the challah so that the challah not be embarrassed. I mean, that's ridiculous. What challah is embarrassed, right? I'm going to go to Three Brothers, right, or Randall's, and Randall's Kosher Bakery over here on Meyer Park, and they actually have Zahava's recipe. Did you know that? That's Zahava's, my wife's recipe. They don't call it Zahava's recipe, but it is, and it's also commercialized, so it's not as good. But either way, you have this. You go buy your challah, and you look at the challah. It's like, people look at the apples when they pick out the apples. They want the nicest apple. Okay, put this in my bag. No, not for me. Next apple, right? And they pick out the apples that they like. Great. How are you going to pick out your challah? I want challah with no emotions, right? I don't want my challah to start crying in the middle of my Shabbos dinner. Just give me, right, the challah with, come on. Yeah, the challah is going to be embarrassed? Come on. So our sages tell us, it's not about the challah. It's about us. Every meal that involves bread, how do you start the meal? With the bread. It's always the beginning of a meal. You break bread. What happens Friday night? Because we're giving testimony that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th, we start with wine. Right? And we make a special blessing on the wine. But we always start with bread. And now we're starting with the wine. So the bread, we feel ashamed for the bread. It's not that it is embarrassed. It's not that it's going to be insulted. It doesn't have feelings. We the dignity for that challah, then hopefully we'll have that dignity for our fellow human beings. If we're that sensitive towards an inanimate object like bread, then hopefully we'll have a great sensitivity towards other human beings. And there's a story I found in an incredible story about the Chafetz Chaim, which, by the way, we have now in the Torch Library. We have a book We have a book about the Chafetz Chaim, and you're welcome. It's in the Torah personality, in the Jewish personalities shelf, and phenomenal sage who passed away in 1934. He was once a guest in someone's home, and the person comes home Friday night with the Chafetz Chaim, and he yells to his wife, "Where's the cover for the challah? Where's the cover for the challah?" The Chafetz Chaim whispers to him. He whispers, the man was saying to the other one, but Chafetz Chaim whispers to him. He says, "Why do we cover the challah?" He says, "Oh, so it shouldn't be embarrassed." He says, "So the challah shouldn't be embarrassed, but your wife should." Right? He didn't get the idea. The idea is not about protecting the challah's feelings. It's about learning sensitivity. All of Judaism is based on that. We're so careful about the sensitivity of other people. To the point, think of this. The Egyptians, how nice were they to us? So it's this week's Torah portion. We're going to talk about this.
They were not nice.
They were not nice. Bad. Right? They were not nice to us. And what does it say? It says, after a few generations, let them into your people. If they want to come and convert, let them in. What do you mean? They're the Egyptians. They're the wicked Egyptians. Do you know what they did to us? Do you know how they made us suffer for 210 years of slavery? And you're telling us we should be nice to them? So what does God tell us? But don't forget, they fed you, and they gave you a place to sleep, and at the end of the day, you lived on their dime. It's true they took advantage. It's true you have all the reasons in the world why they wronged you, but you still benefited, right? You still benefited. We don't take revenge. We're not people who take revenge. Someone wants to come and join the Jewish people, we welcome them in after. Okay? It's just an interesting perspective how we are cautious about the dignity of others, even those who have harmed us. Right? I would say that the number one trait that we learn from Judaism is dignity. Dignity for every human being. Do you know that you're not allowed to... animal cruelty has become a very modern thing today, right? Oh, we're all against animal cruelty. You know where that comes from?
Torah.
The Holy Torah. Yeah. The Torah tells you, right, not to hurt an animal, even a fly, right? So you have a pesky a fly, which is a pesky fly. It's bothering you, right? Okay, so you kill it, but if you see it suffering on the floor, right, you're not allowed to let it suffer. You're not allowed to let it suffer. You see an animal suffering, it's a terrible thing. All right? What? You're not right. Aside from the right, that's also true. Okay, an elevated person doesn't need regard or respect of others, but instead he respects others. A real dignified person, a real elevated person, learns to respect others. Right? Ezehu mechubad. You want to know who's an honorable person? The Mishnah tells us. In Ethics of Our Fathers, chapter 4, Mishnah 1. You want to know who's honorable? Someone who honors other people. Because if you know how to be sensitive to other people and understand what they need, what their dignity calls for, that's a real dignified person. Right? If you're able to understand the needs of another person, it's. I'll give you just a hint. Most of you are men in this room. So I'll just tell you, and if you're not married, I'll give you one of the keys to a happy marriage. Okay?
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear is right. Were you saying it to me or to your wife?
Both.
I'll tell you what it is. It's to understand. Right? See, the problem is like this. Here's the big collision in marriage. Is that a man lives 20, 25, 30 years himself. And he knows very, very well what he wants. Right? I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I'm tired, I'm tired. I'm thirsty, I need the bathroom, I need the bathroom. I know exactly what I want. I know exactly how to take care of myself. But do I know what the other person wants? No idea. Well, when we're dating, I really want her to like me, and I really want her to... Right? So we go beyond ourselves. But we really need to think into the other person. We really need to think and understand very, very deeply what the other person needs. What do they need? right? And it also connects very much with kindness, because the most essential trait needed in a marriage is kindness, but the other is dignity. Is you need to treat each other with the dignity that's deserving and becoming for them. Okay, can you please adjust the ear over there to lower it, please? Turn to your left. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so not to give honor and also not to take honor is impossible, right? You can't just be, you pull the plug on all honor, right? A person needs honor, and a person needs honor for themselves, but they also need to learn how to give honor to others. Okay. Now I want to jump for a second. To share with you what the Mishnah says. It says the following. It says that one who eats in the marketplace is compared to a dog. That's what it says. One who eats in the marketplace is compared to a dog. Ha'ochel bashuk domeh lekelev. And you know what else? They are not accepted to be a witness in a Jewish court.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. What does one have to do with the other? Like what? Because I eat my pizza, right, in the marketplace, I can't. I'm compared to a dog. I'm compared to. I can't be accepted in a Jewish court to be a witness. What's going on here? So our sages, they can't either be in a court, right? They can't be they can't be on a bet din, right?
Do you mean that day?
Oh no! Well, if that's the way they conduct themselves, okay. Let's understand what this means. What is a dog?
Animal.
Right? It's an animal. Now, I don't know about you, but have you ever gone to a party where everyone's dressed in a suit and tie, you're in a really nice house, but they have a dog that's busy bothering everyone, right? So what do? They give him a bone, right? And they say, hey, kitty, right? Or whatever they call him, right? And they put him in the side in the corner, and he sits over there, and he's busy biting on that bone. He's biting and biting and biting, right? He's all busy with it, and he's catching it with his hands, and he's biting it. He doesn't realize this is a real dignified event, right? There are people there in tuxedos. There are people all dressed up, eating and whining and dining, and it's a real elegant event. And here he is. You look at the dog. He doesn't care about anybody. He's busy with that bone, right? Doesn't have any dignity. He doesn't have any self-worth. Right now, he's hungry, so he wants to eat his bone. Boom, that's it. That's the only thing that exists. You take someone. You ever see in the mall? I've seen this. This is one of the reasons I can't stand going to the mall. Aside for the other terrible immodesty that I find that is prevalent in malls. But you see people, they're walking around like this. They're walking in the mall. They're eating their pizza like this. They're walking with their friends. You know what I'm talking about. You've all seen it, right? There's no dignity. There's no self-worth. So what do our sages tell us? If you don't value yourself like a dog doesn't value itself, how is it possible that you'll care about the dignity of someone who's in court? If you don't have a dignity for yourself, there's no way you can have a dignity for another person. So a person, it's essential. It's essential that if we want to have this trait of dignity, self-worth, and we're going to get into practical examples of how we get there, right? We have to recognize that we're worth something, right? We're worth something. The difference between humans and objects. Objects can be purchased with money. Mankind, however, is spiritual. Honor and respect is that spiritual value. Okay? We have a dignity. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Honor and respect is that spiritual value. The barometer of spirituality is honor and respect, right? You won't find a dignified rabbi, right, drinking a beer like this, with their legs up. It says like this. It says that a real Talmid Chacham, a real Torah scholar, wouldn't be able to sit in a position that is just like sprawled out. It's just not dignified. He can't do it, right? It's not that he is not allowed to. He just wouldn't. They say, I have to remember who it was. One of the Tanaic sages, I may have it here. One of the Tanaic sages sent his son-in-law. There was someone who claimed that he was the Messiah. He claimed that he was the Messiah. So the father-in-law tells his son-in-law, he says, "Do me a favor. Go to the city that he lives in, and go see if he's the Messiah. Go see if he's the real deal." He goes, he comes back, he says he's not the Messiah, he's a false Messiah. He says, "How do you know?" He says, "I saw the way he sat. I saw the way he sat, he's not the Messiah. He sat in such an undignified manner, it can't be that he's the Messiah." Right? It says, Yoshev Prakdan. Prakdan means just like, sprawled. I remember I would see my grandfather when he would relax in the summer vacation, right? And he had like a beach chair. But he just couldn't. You can't imagine such a holy man just laying back like that. So he was like on his side, with a book like this. He it's like he couldn't. That was his relaxing. That was being chilled out. God is holy. We say the words Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Holy, holy, holy. How do we know this? Meloch kol haaretz kivodo. Why is God? How do we determine God's holiness? You know why? Because the whole land is His honor. We see that the holiness is determined by the honor. The holier someone is, the more dignified they are. My rabbi would always talk about dignity. We would always talk about it. It's such an important thing. He would tell us that a Torah scholar can't eat pizza. Right? Can't eat pizza. You can't eat with your hands. You don't eat with your hands. You eat with. So not that he can't eat pizza. He said you can't eat with your hands. It's just not dignified to eat with your hands. So one of the students asked him. He says, "This is after my days, but I heard it." He said, "But how do we eat pizza?" He said, "You can't eat pizza with a knife and fork. I mean, come on, right? You fold the pizza, right, and you eat it. So that's why you're supposed to eat pizza, right? How do you eat pizza otherwise? The knife." He says, "With a knife and fork." But he said, "But you can't eat pizza with a knife. You can't do that." He says, "So don't eat pizza." Right? If that food is not a dignified for you, you can't eat it in a dignified fashion, right? Then don't eat it. Right? Because the way in which you eat represents you. It represents who you are. It tells so much about a person, the way we carry ourselves. It says, for another thing, it says that a Torah scholar doesn't run. You see running in the streets. Right? They walk with a certain type of dignity. It's not a show. The idea is not a show. You're not trying to show. But a person who's worth something has a certain self-respect, a self-dignity. I'll tell you a little bit. We can understand this from any of the past presidents that you look at, whether you like them or didn't like them, or present president. Okay. When was the last time that you saw the Queen of England eating an ice cream cone? Right? You've never seen it, right? None of us have ever seen it. Do you know why? Because she has dignity. She has dignity. She has royalty. You don't eat an ice cream cone in front of cameras. It just doesn't work. Right? You can see dignity by that. She has a value. She understands that, you know what, I may not be such a holier than thou person, but she understands she represents a people. She represents a nation. She represents, millions and millions of people. They look up to her as the queen. That in itself should demand a certain dignity. You don't see her, every time you see the queen, she looks like a queen.
Well, what happens when she's by herself?
It's fine. That even then you have to act with a certain sense, a certain dignity has to be carried over. Right? Oh, cameras are off. Whoosh, goodbye. Right? Where's my pizza? Right?
Well, isn't it tough to be dictatorial?
No, on the contrary. On the contrary, because you realize that you have a self-value, you have a worth. You're worth something.
So no hot dogs, no ham, no burger.
Again, there's a way to eat it. There's a way to eat
How do
it.
you eat a kosher rib?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
By the way, you owe me.
I do owe you. I do owe you. I knew that question was going for someplace. Every place that there is holiness, there is honor. Right? What did it say? What did it say? What did it say about the place where Abraham went, Mount Moriah, right? Where Jacob went, where Isaac went. When they went to the Temple Mount, which is known as the Temple Mount today, right? Or the Kotel is also is the last remaining wall. It says that God told them, take off your shoes. Right? This is a holy place. You don't step on this place like you step in other places. You don't walk here like you. There has to be different. Right? I'll give you another example. I once brought this up in one of my classes, and I'm not going to mention where this took place. One of those classes, I'm not either going to mention what type of synagogue it was or what affiliation it was, but we spoke about dignity. It's about 4 or 5 years ago. It said that the way you bring yourself to synagogue has to be dignified as well. It has to be dignified. Imagine, I'm about to stand in front of the Almighty Creator of heaven and earth. I'm about to talk to Him face to face. I'm going to come in my tank top. It just isn't, it's unbecoming. Think of how you would come to the President of the United States. How would you come? If you got a phone call, you say, hey, Don, we're looking forward to, I'm calling on behalf of the White House who wants you to come and meet with the President. Right? He wants to talk to you. He hears you're a very clever man. He wants your advice. Okay? I guarantee you'd go to your local suit store, you buy yourself a nice suit, maybe Men's Warehouse, right? And you'll dress yourself, you buy yourself a nice tie, you make sure you have nice shiny shoes, right? And you come, you make sure you're there an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day early, you prepare exactly your comments, what you're going to say, the introduction, right? You're getting all ready, right? Because you're about to speak to the President of the United States, one of arguably the most powerful person in the world. Right? And yet we come to synagogue, we're like, hey, I was coming back from the bowling alley, and I figured, what the heck, I'll just pop into synagogue, right? Right? The idea is when we come to synagogue, we have to come, we're standing in front of God. And if we recognize that we're standing in front of God, we have to carry ourselves with a certain dignity. I didn't know how big of a mistake I made when I said that in that synagogue. The next week I came back, and everybody jumps at me, Rabbi, you spoke about honor last week. The rabbi walked in Friday night in flip-flops and shorts, right?
Oh.
It was the summer, right? Casual Friday night. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why. But the idea is that maybe he doesn't understand the value of synagogue, right? Maybe people don't understand that synagogue is not just a place to commune with other people, right? It's not just a place where we say hello. Oh, how are you? How was your week? Nice to see you. Great. We're closing the deal next week. Yeah, great. It's like make sure we have it shouldn't either be a fashion show, by the way, right? It should be a place of dignity. It should be a place where someone who walks in knows they're walking in. They're about to talk to God. Now we discussed this a lot in our Friday class, our Talmud class, 12 o'clock noon here at the Torch Center.
Where we serve pizza.
What? Where we serve pizza and bagels and lox and cream cheese.
The night before.
With the fork and knife.
Similarly, mankind is very, very, very holy. The holy soul that is placed within every human being requires our attention to honor that soul. Do we realize that our soul, our sages tell us, is obviously God God doesn't have any physical form to have pieces. But if God could be a physical form, we have a piece of God within us. There's a small piece of heaven in everyone's heart, right? There's a small piece of godliness within us, and that's our soul. What are we doing to take that soul and show it its value, its dignity? Right? That's what we need. It means we do have a tremendous value. We're worth a lot. Right? We have such a lofty soul that's within us. The Torah deals in great detail with this honor that is required for holiness and spirituality. We know that Shabbos is called holy. So what do? We honor Shabbos. Right? When there's holiness, there's honor. Right? We honor the Shabbos. So the word honor comes from the word in Hebrew. Anybody know what the word honor means in Hebrew?
Kavod.
Kavod. What is the root word of kavod? Heavy. Kaved is heavy. Okay? What is light? Kal. Right? Kal comes from the word light. It also is the same root word of the word klala, which means cursed.
Wow.
Right? When something is just schok v'kalud rosh, when someone is just laughing around and they're just right? Then they're just laughing, right? They're not recognizing there's no seriousness to their being, right? They lose that sense of self-dignity and self-worth, which is, by the way, perhaps a little rebuke to the comedy world. Today, people are very laughter is the best medicine, and people will excuse every reason in the world to watch a comedy show or to at late night show that laughs at other people. Right now, they have a new president. They have a new guy to laugh at. They have a show movie. They can laugh at the movie. They can laugh. People are laughing and laughing about other people. Right? I think it does a terrible thing for our soul. Even if you have a good laugh, it's healthy to laugh every once in a while. Good, it is healthy to have a good laugh. But laughing at other people is not a good thing. That is never a good thing. Because what happens is the honor that we have for other people gets diminished. It's never a good thing to mock other people. Right? Even if it's someone we didn't vote for. Even if it's someone that you did vote for. Even if it doesn't make a difference. But to laugh at other people, we get into the habit of laughing at other people, so you know who loses? Humanity loses. Humanity loses. Because we lose the value in our eyes towards other people. Okay?
But it's interesting you should mention that Kal
Mm-hmm.
means light, because I was just thinking when you said this, there's a character, everybody knows his name, is Superman, but his real name is Kal-El.
Oh, really?
Well, the guy who created Superman.
Yeah, both of them, yeah.
Wow.
So, light God.
So our sages tell us in the Mishnah that the honor of your student, the honor of your student should be as precious to you as your own. Now, what does that come to tell you? Your student is a lot less honorable than your teacher. So it's like excuse me. There's a concept in Judaism called kal vachomer. What's a kal vachomer? I tell you the light, and you learn the more difficult. Okay? I'll give you an example of kal vachomer. Kal vachomer is like this. You go to the doctor, and the doctor tells you it's unhealthy in your state. It's unhealthy for you to have 1 teaspoon of sugar. It's unhealthy. Okay. You come home and you tell your family, the doctor said I shouldn't have a teaspoon of sugar. So he goes out and buys his full bag of sugar, and he's ready to start having the full bag of sugar. So what are you going to do? What are you going to tell him? What are you going to tell him?
What are you doing?
What are you doing, right? What is he going to tell you back? Doctor said I shouldn't have a teaspoon of sugar. He didn't say I shouldn't have a full bag. Right? What do you say? Well, that's what we call a kal v'chomer. He said a teaspoon. Of course you shouldn't take a whole bag of sugar, right? You don't need to tell me that, right? I tell you the light, you know the heavy. You understand? You know the greater, right? I tell you something small, you understand that even bigger is even more so. If the Mishnah is telling you, have tremendous respect and dignity, care for the dignity of your student, even more so someone who's parallel to you, even more so someone who's higher than you, your teacher, and even more so someone who's your parent, someone who brought you to this world. You have to have even more. If it tells you, your lowly student, make sure that you care for their dignity, then of course someone who's bigger than that doesn't even need to tell you that. Right? It tells you a teaspoon, doesn't need to tell you a bag. Okay? It devalues things. It removes all respect for things when we laugh at others, when we mock others. You know what's very interesting? The Torah teaches us to value human beings. We're the only religion that has in our Torah, in a verse in the Torah, in Leviticus 19:32, stand up for the elderly. Stand up for the elderly. You're on a bus, and someone walks on the bus. You're on the bus first. I got the seat. But they're older than you. Torah tells you, stand up. Stand up. Have respect for someone who's older.
That's a great thing about getting older.
But there's another thing about honor. Is that someone who runs after honor, it runs away from you. Right? People who always want to see their name out there, they always want, make sure you mention my name, otherwise I'll never, right? I want to see my name up there. People who run after honor, honor runs away from them. Right? So that we have to realize, we're not talking about honor, I want my name. We're talking about honor, dignity. It's a very different thing. Okay? We know the Mishnah tells us, the jealousy, the urges that we constantly run after, desires, we lust for things, and running after honor, remove a person from this world. A person loses his senses, they lose their balance. Okay? And of course the Mishnah also tells us in Ethics of Our Fathers, chapter 2, Mishnah 10, the honor and dignity of your friend should be as valuable to you as your own. Okay? Now, we see that Joseph died 10 years earlier than he was supposed to. You know that? Joseph, we just spoke about it last week. Right? A week and 2 days ago, we read the Torah portion of Vayechi. And at the end of the portion of Vayechi, who died? Joseph. And Joseph died 10 years prior to his scheduled departure. Why? Our sages tell us it was a punishment. Because he dealt with his brothers very harshly when they came. When they came to Egypt, his 10 brothers came up, and he humiliated them a little bit. Right? He lost a year for each one of his brothers. A year for each one. Why? He didn't give them the proper dignity, our sages tell us. If you don't treat them with other people with the proper dignity, you pay the price for it.
Well, you also pay the price for it with your own dignity.
Oh, for sure. But again, it starts from us. If we treat ourselves with proper dignity, right? That's step number 1. Step number 2 is start to think about other people. They also have a dignity. They also are worth something. The Torah tells us that there are many. The Rambam teaches us that there are many different levels of charity, many different levels of tzedakah that you can give. The highest form of tzedakah, or one of the highest forms of tzedakah, is giving it when the giver doesn't know who he's giving it to, and the recipient doesn't know who he's receiving it from. All right, anonymous giving. I mentioned this in one of my other classes this week, that I have an aunt of mine. She's an amazing woman. Her name is Bambi, short for Bamberger. She's the head midwife of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital. For 50 years, she delivered babies every day, every night in Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem. That's probably the busiest hospital in the world, except for China and India. But it's unbelievable. And she's delivered, and she realized that many of the women that were delivering babies didn't know how they're going to feed that baby. They're very poor families. They of course rely on God, but they didn't know how are we going to support our family? What are we going to do? So she started a fund, and that fund, she went around the world raising money for these poor families. Now the donor doesn't know who they're giving it to; they're just giving it to her. And the recipient doesn't know who they're getting it from. And underneath the door, every week, they get money for Shabbos to feed their family for the week. Right? That's an amazing, amazing mitzvah. That's the way it should be. That you don't know. That means they have a dignity too. They have a dignity too, in that they don't need to be embarrassed and humiliated. Here's your check. Take your check. Here, right? We give it. Right? There's a certain dignity. I'll tell you a story. I literally just mentioned this story yesterday in my Brit Shalom class at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. It's told by Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, and we brought it up in a totally different regard, but we can bring it to this idea as well of honor and dignity, of taking care of other people. There was this man who came to visit the cemetery in Krakow. And he sees in the cemetery the oddest thing. There's this grave that's just outside of the cemetery, and it says on the grave, it says, this is the gravesite of Yosela Kamtzen Kadosh. Yosela, the holy miser. He's like, what in the world is that? And why is he outside? If he's holy, why is he outside of the cemetery? What's going on over here? So he said, I have to find out what's going on. So he goes to the rabbi. He asks the rabbi, who is this guy? What's the story behind it? He says, let me tell you. This guy was a very, very wealthy man. Very wealthy man. And he didn't like to part from his money. He was a miser. People would come and he'd throw them out of his house. They'd come, and everyone was trying to figure out how do we get into this guy? How do we do this? Comes the end of his life. He'd always get away with the minimum. He'd always give the minimum he could possibly give to the synagogue. He didn't want to give. But what would people do? They heard that this guy's such a wealthy guy, and one says, you know what? I'm a good salesman, I'll be able to get him. And they'd come to his house, they'd knock on his door, and Yosua would open the door, and he'd say, oh, welcome, come inside, and you have a beautiful home, and they'd bring out cakes, and they'd bring out drinks, and they'd, tell me about your story, and they'd hear his story, and he'd ask him, where do you live, which house, which apartment, okay, great. He'd get all the information he needs from the person, how much money are you looking for, so and so. And then suddenly he'd get into a rage. He'd say, and you coming to me, you think I'm going to give you this money? He'd take him and throw him out of the house. Don't ever come back here again. That's what happened. Every person thought, you know what? My story is going to be different. He's not going to throw me out of the house. And sure enough, he did the same thing to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. It was like, he's such a miser. Right? You can imagine God gives him all this money and he just doesn't want to give anything. He doesn't want to help the community. Came the end of his life and he's about to die. So they come to him and they tell him, listen, you're about to die. if you don't give us money for your burial, we're not burying you. Just that you know, right? We're not going to bury you. So they say how much. He asked them how much do you need. I think they needed 600 coins, whatever. He said, I can give you 300. Jew, he's bargaining on his gravestone, right? So, no, absolutely not, right? It's either 600, we're not burying you, right? Didn't give in, didn't relent. He says, here's 300, you're not getting 600. So he passes away Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now they can't not bury him for such a long time, and they said, you know what, we're just going to bury him, but we're going to bury him outside the cemetery. We're going to bury him right outside the cemetery. We'll give him just a plot. It's just undignified for a person not to be buried. We're going to bury him, but it's not going to be, it'll be outside the cemetery. Comes Wednesday morning, and the rabbi gets a knock on the door. And it's a poor person. He says, Rabbi, I need money for Shabbos. How much do you need? He says, I need 20 rubles. Says, 5 rubles, I don't know how much it was, whatever. He gives it. A few minutes later, another poor person comes. He says, Rabbi, I need money for Shabbos. Right? How much do you need for Shabbos? He says, I have 8 children, and I don't know how I'm going to... Gives him as much money as he needs. And then another poor person. He's thinking, what's going on? He's never had these poor people coming to him. Suddenly they're all coming to him. What's going on? She starts asking them, what's happening here? What did you do till now? Suddenly this week everyone became poor. She said, I don't know. Every week, on Wednesday morning, we would get an envelope under our door with money for Shabbos. And everyone says the exact same story. Every Wednesday morning they get this envelope under the door. Every Wednesday morning. And then the rabbi of the town understood what happened. That Yasala, the miser, didn't want anyone to know that he was giving out this money. So he would welcome them in. He would hear their whole story. He would be so kind to them. He would, that once he'd get all the information, he'd throw them out of the house in a way they'll never, ever, ever think that he was the one who was giving them the money. And now, this was the first week that he passed away, the first Shabbos that he was gone, and nobody had money anymore. Because he wasn't there to give it out. So they added to his name, Yasala the miser, they added after it in Hebrew, right? Kadosh, the holy miser, right? The people saw him as a miser, but he was such a holy man, he wanted to do it in a way that was so dignified for these people, they shouldn't even know where the money was coming from. Okay? We have to understand that the dignity of other people is the most important thing that we have to be worried about. We have to be so worried about the dignity of other people. If you embarrass someone in public, it's not the embarrassment. It's not the words you used. It's the dignity that you stole of them. They're a human being. They're such a holy person. And you've just made them devoid of all value. You've taken away their essence. That's the danger of not treating people with proper kavod. Whether it's the janitor, whether it's the UPS person, they're also a human being. They also have a home. They also have a family. They also have a job. They also have a dignity. Every single time a delivery person comes to our house, either I do it or I tell my children to ask them if they want something to drink. Right? They're running around from house to house to house to house to house. They're running in and out, running from the truck to the car. Right? Would you like something to drink? You have no idea. Sometimes they're like, please, sure, anything. Right? They're just out of breath, but they have to run. So I run, get them a water, and give them. They're like, thank you so much. Right? Imagine it could have been hours and hours since they had their last drink, but they're paid. They're paid to do their job. They also have a dignity. Your cleaning lady also has a dignity. Treat them with respect. I'll tell you an amazing story about someone who cared about the dignity of someone else. There was a man who was a shochet. You know what a shochet is? A shochet is a slaughterer, a ritual slaughterer, right? Now, in order to eat kosher food, kosher poultry or kosher meat, it has to be slaughtered properly. Who slaughters it? A shochet, someone who's trained, who knows how to have a kosher knife, who knows how to determine that an animal is without any blemishes, that all its limbs are perfectly functioning, and they go into a slaughterhouse, right? And they slaughter animal after animal, and then it's cleaned properly, according to halacha. It's soaked properly, it's rinsed properly. There's a whole process that through the Torah, the Torah tells us how to do that. By the way, it has to be slaughtered in a way that's most dignified for the animal. We care about the dignity of the animal. The animal's not supposed, no other animal is supposed to see that the animal is being slaughtered. You know that? Right? You're not allowed to just walk into the pen, right, and start slaughtering. The Muslims do that. They just walk in and start slitting throats. We don't do that. No other animal sees the animal being slaughtered. So it shouldn't go crazy, right? It also has a dignity. So this shochet, every single morning, when he'd pull into the plant, into the slaughterhouse, he'd say good morning to the guard. And when he'd leave, he'd say good evening to the guard. Every single day. One day, the owner of the place is closing up, he's shutting down all the lights, he's checking everything is cleaned, everything is taken care of, he's pulling out. The security guard says, no, you can't leave. He says, what do you mean I can't leave? He says, there's a man that every single day says good night to me. He did not say good night to me tonight. He's still in that plant. He says, I went through, I checked the entire place. There's nobody there. He says, I guarantee you. They searched the entire plant. And then they found one freezer that had been locked from the outside. And that shochet was stuck in that freezer. Nobody realized that he was there, and they locked it. And he was this close to his death, being frozen to death. Caring about the dignity of another human being, saying good evening every night. Right? Saved his life. Who knows the great reward that we could get by treating other people with dignity. Whether it's the janitor in your building, you come into your office building, right? The person's cleaning every day. Good morning, good afternoon, with a smile. They have a dignity too. They have a family too. They have a life too. Right? Caring about every other human being. Are there any questions so far?
Rabbi, I believe a while back, didn't you give a story about this huge rabbi in Israel, that this lady would call him right before Shabbat?
Yeah.
To ask him on the time, something like that?
Yeah. I'll just repeat that story because you mentioned it. I love that story. It's probably one of my favorite stories. We're clearly not getting through our material today. So that's what next week's for, exactly. The story is about Rav Moshe Feinstein. And Rav Moshe Feinstein was such an unbelievable Torah scholar. I mean, he was like, you think of the busiest rabbi you've ever met, he was busier, okay? Guaranteed. And he knew a lot more as well. He got the questions from the biggest rabbis, they asked him their questions, okay? He was the biggest posek in America. In the history of America, he was the biggest posek, without dispute. We'll have his book here hopefully by next week in the Levitt family library. So, an amazing person. A woman once called his house on a Friday afternoon. You can ask any religious home keeper on Friday. It is by far the most hectic time of the week. Would you say? It's all hectic because you have till lighting candles to prepare for Shabbos. And once you light those candles, boom, you're unplugged. That's it. Now the ship has sailed. Right? And you can't go back to the dock, and you can't take anything else with you. Whatever's ready for Shabbat is ready, and whatever isn't. That's it. So it's pretty hectic. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this woman calls the rabbi's house, and she says, "Hi, can I speak to Rabbi Feinstein?" And the person picking up the phone, a student, the rabbi was busy. He says, "I'm sorry, ma'am, he's unavailable at this time. Is there anything I can help you with?" So she said, "Yeah, I called to find out what time candle lighting is." And he's like, "You don't need to call Rabbi Feinstein to know what time candle lighting is." And so the student tells her, "Oh, it's going to be at 6:30 or 6:35, whatever time it was." And then he says to her, "You know, any Jewish calendar has the times for candlelighting. You don't need to call Rabbi Feinstein. He's a very busy man. You don't need to call Rabbi Feinstein for the candlelighting time. He's even offering to send her one. So she says, I've been calling Rabbi Feinstein for the past 25 years. He never said anything about calendars. Okay? Imagine that. He cared about the dignity of this woman as well. Right? I'm not too holy not to take someone's call. I'm not too holy not to give someone the time they need. 25 years, she never even knew who Rabbi Feinstein was, probably. Right? She probably opened up a Yellow Pages, looked for Rabbi, found Rabbi Feinstein, and called him. And that was it. She had no idea who he was. Right? 25 years she's been calling Rabbi Feinstein's house. Never knew. He never said anything about calendars. Right? So we'll stop here. Let's take a minute. We're going to sign off from our friends on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome to join us every week, every Monday night at 7:30. We're live on Facebook, and we're also live at the Torch Center. You're welcome to join us here. We still have a few more seats, not many, thank God, but we do have a few more seats, and you're welcome to join us. Thank you if you enjoyed the class, please like it, and please share it as well so that others can learn and can grow. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful